Bless the Morning Collective. I got some words I want to express. The driving force of all creation. So why is it? Why is it that any of this is? Why is it that consciousness, pure energy, non-physical, which knows itself, particularly in the non-physical form, to be eternal, to be well, to be good, all of these things, why is it that it would flow, that it would choose to inhabit a form, to create this world of illusory form, but as solid as it can imagine it to be? Why is it that any of this exists? Why is it that we, as consciousness that is awakening to itself, and so assisting the awakening of all consciousness to itself here, why are we here? Why are we awakening? Why is any of this happening? Well, from my interpretation and perspective, it all drives back to knowing the self. Inhabit that space of pure consciousness within you. I am. The second you're there, knowing that you are being, you become curious. You want to know more about your being. I am. And I know this is what I am, and it feels incredible to know that I am who am, that I am the pure amness, the isness, the being. And now I want more. I want to know more. I want to know myself. Source wants to know itself. And so it's right there. Desire. All of this, all of creation, every creative act that ever has or ever will take place is driven by desire. Desire is sacred. And when I say the word desire, a lot of people conflate it with the want of ego. The want of ego is a craving that thinks it will find a sort of fulfillment out there. This is the desire that is aware. It's a never-ending process. And it is self-satisfied. It's aware there is always more desire, but it's delighted by the desire. It's not annoyed by it. It's not obsessed in the terms of desperately trying to find some release for it. It's not trying to change the desire. It's not trying to make it go away. It acknowledges the presence of desire is desirable. It's pleasurable. It feels good. It wants to continue the desire, and it knows the way to do that is following the desire. It sees the whole picture of this delicious, endless, joyful journey of, I feel excited, I feel curious, I feel lit up, I want to move this direction. This is the direction that my desire, my pure desire, is calling me. Not ego trying to fill in some hole, not ego trying to escape some sensation. Pure desire. And so Source follows this desire over here and over here and over there. And it has followed it all the way into the creation of this realm of form, flowing into form, and it has now discovered the joy of that. And that's what we're here to do, is experience joy in the conscious, deliberate creating. Freedom is the basis, the foundation of this existence. Growth is the inevitable result. Following desire leads to creation, leads to growth, leads to the experience of contrast, which adds clarity to the desire. Ultimately, the desire is the knowing of the self, but the knowing of the self is expressed in all of this, in infinite and ever-expanding and evolving detail. And so this desire only deepens. It only sweetens. It gets more powerful and more pleasurable. That's what we're here doing. And as consciousness awakens to itself in the process of creating, that's where the real explosively powerful satisfaction lies. To be in the creative process at every stage of it, on purpose, conscious and aware, in the tension portion, in the pre-manifestation, which you could call the act, the moment of the creation physically taking form. There is a lot that comes up before that creation is created, right? There's a lot of experience and energy leading up to that one moment of culmination. It's that buildup that is so inherently pleasurable. It's the tension, and it's pleasurable the most when you are conscious in it and aware of it. All creative energy in every act of creation, and that is what we are. We are creative consciousness. We are aware, we are intelligent, and we are creative by nature. And by nature, the creation is pleasurable. It is desire that drives all of this and all of existence. None of this would be here if Source didn't desire for it to. And I, again, just want to reinforce that word. What is a desire? It's something that feels good. It is the feeling of ooh within you. It's the feeling of soul craving, soul yearning, soul longing, which is delicious. It's never this itchy need to get a fix. It's this deep yearning that feels good in itself. You feel the desire and you like it. You're not trying to get rid of it. You don't want it to go away. In fact, you want this process of experiencing the longing to last as long as it can last. Because this is where the pleasure is. It's not even in the culmination. It's not even in that final moment where, boom, the desire is born into physical reality or is somehow fully satisfied in that form. Yeah, that's nice. That's fun. It's the natural result. But that's not where the real joy is. That's not where the real pleasure is. It's in everything leading up to it. So if any of this sounds familiar, yes, it is inherently very much the same as sexual desire. Creative desire, true creative desire, is born from the sacral chakra, whether that is in the creative act of lovemaking or the creative act of making a sandwich that you really are excited to eat, or the creative act of driving your car somewhere because you feel called and it's a beautiful day and you want to go there. Or maybe you have somewhere that you want to be and you're excited to go there. You are creating that experience. Maybe it's in the act of artistic creation, as we might refer to it, of music or art or dance. All of these things we do, every creative act, and all of it really is an act of creation, particularly when we allow it to be, when we are deliberately aware of that and engaged, even in the creating of this moment manifesting as an act of creation, and has all of the same pleasure, the same joyful journey for us. Everything that is existing because of this balanced state, because there is the tension, and because the tension drives us to the release, the natural outward expansion of energy. The outward expansion of energy only happens because of the intentional withholding, and I mean withdrawing, the gently holding in a conscious way of that energy, feeling the tension and feeling the pleasure of it, feeling good in it. Not even really caring, not worried about, knowing that the natural result of this is a release, is an outward expansion. Yes. But it is so much more fun, and so much fun when you are in the moment of the intentional withholding, the intentional withdrawing into the self, and feeling how that creates this urge. It becomes an ache for the expansion, right? And then when the expansion does take place, it's just powerful. What do you think the Big Bang was? I've talked about this before. It is no mistake that that's what we call it. It's the Big Bang. It's an explosion. It is the first moment of Source consciously meeting itself, experiencing that tension, that delight, the coming together, and that orgasmic joy rippling through the quantum field. Imagine the first two photons becoming conscious of each other. First two quantum particles. We'll take it even smaller because that's really what it is. One becomes aware, and in the delight of its own awareness, it shouts out, and the very closest in proximity quantum particle also receives this information. It travels, right? Quantum particles share information through a net. And so now, in this infinitesimally minute amount of time, if we could even call it that, you have these two particles who are suddenly aware and awake and turn to each other and go, you, I am, and you are, and we are, and they unite, and this just dramatic recognition of self bursts forth in a wave. And that information and that joy just explodes through all of quantum reality, through all of higher reality. And it hasn't stopped rippling since. It has not stopped. Let me say that again. All of this is a part of the continuous, millennia-long orgasmic wave of pleasure that Source first began, tipped off, when it became aware of itself for the first moment. When the first moment of conscious, aware energy, aware of itself, happened. We're still in that. We are still riding that wave. We are riding that wave forever. It's an eternal orgasm. And it just gets better and better. And we are here to become consciously aware of that for the delicious pleasure of it, because it is as Source, divine, pure conscious energy desires. And we are manifest as a result of that desire and as a part of enhancing and deepening and expanding it. And it is our incredible role to awaken within the dream, within the world of form, to be the dreamer who awakens to themselves within this place and begins the delightfully joyful and pleasurable act of intentional dreaming, lucid dreaming, you might call it. If you are one who has ever experienced a lucid dream, it's a lot of fun. It's happened to me on a handful of occasions. And it's a delight. And that's what this is. I speak on all of this in particular because it has come up for me in recognizing ego and ego's rejection of pleasure, rejection of form pleasure, rejection of the world of form and the pleasure that it can provide, which it is here for us to experience in an aware, conscious way. Not in a way that is attached, not in a way that is needing, a way that is aware of what's going on here. And aware that it is within my ability and my focused perspective to discover the pleasure within each and every moment, which ranges everywhere from peaceful contentment to blissful ecstasy. without anything changing. All of that exists right now, in this exact moment. But then, of course, a natural result, because law of attraction is law of attraction, a natural result of tapping into that space means there will be physical manifestation of that. There will be physical form to support and encourage and reinforce this experiencing, this awareness of and sensation of peaceful contentment and satisfaction and excitement, and all the way to blissful ecstasy. And those forms are sacred. That is the form the moment is taking. Embracing that is equally important, and perhaps more important, than not rejecting something that is perhaps a contrasting situation, a less than pleasurable experience. And I have noticed from my own ego, and I believe this to be true for many, because we have this martyrdom complex that is collective, it is easier for the ego to accept unpleasant events because on some level it feels unworthy of the pleasure still. It's afraid of it. It doesn't trust itself. It doesn't feel like somehow it deserves it. It is afraid of being judged for its enjoyment. It's afraid of being deemed inappropriate or incorrect. And so, as a part of making this video, I want to honor that and recognize that, because that really is a driving force for making this, to acknowledge that the ego within this self has experienced those thoughts, and that is just old programming. That source, divine, that which we are, wants the joyful journey. And joy is always sacred in every form. Yes, continue to recognize that it comes from within. Yes, continue to recognize that there is no source of happiness outside of the self. It's all in here. But of course, tapping into that space, you are bringing forth manifestations that reinforce that, and that's a part of what we're here to do. In fact, that is what we're here to do. To enhance and expand the pleasure of being. Even Eckhart Tolle has mentioned this. He talks a lot less about sexuality, but he has said numerous times it's not about a should or shouldn't. If you feel in the moment the good feeling of this activity, then let that expression happen. Invite that expression to happen. And why is it that consciousness, aware that it is not form, would continue to exist in the world of form? For the enjoyment of it, for the pleasure of it, the pleasure of deliberate conscious creation, and the enjoyment of that creation. The form is not to be rejected when you are aware of it, when you understand how this is happening, and it doesn't detract from your pleasure when it naturally fades away, as it does, when you are aware of the temporal nature of form, and you are holding your infinite, eternal nature next to that, and witnessing it flow through the form, consciously aware of what is happening, then you don't feel the attachment to it. And when it fades away, when it goes away, as it inevitably does, there is no hard feeling at the end. There is just more desire, good feeling desire, again, pure desire. The desire that knows it is meant to be there. The desire that knows it will be fulfilled, and then carry on another desire and another. It's the same desire. It just deepens and expands and expounds and becomes more clarified in itself, in more detail. So pleasure is sacred. Desire is sacred. And again, I am repeating a lot of this, speaking to my own self, speaking to my own ego. This is a seminar for my own ego to hear and witness and understand. Pleasure is here to be experienced. The rejection of pleasure is just resistance. That's just a rejection of the moment. If the moment has pleasure within it, and it always does, but if the moment is taking the form of something that is physically pleasurable, the deliberate surrender to that is as important and as delicious as the deliberate surrender to any other moment. I just want to point out that I can feel it right here. It's a nervous tension, kind of these bands running like this. Ego is afraid of admitting that it enjoys. It is afraid, again, of being somehow judged, and it is judging itself. Again, as unworthy of the pleasure. It is judging the pleasure as somehow something that is not spiritual. Let me say this, it wouldn't feel like pleasure if the universe didn't like it. And that doesn't mean the universe doesn't like things that don't feel like pleasure. But that contrast is there to clarify desire. It's okay to not enjoy something. It's not a moral indictment. We have this wrapped up, this dislike of something wrapped up with the judgment of that thing as shouldn't be, not worthy, inappropriate, incorrect. Again, if I don't like the flavor of ice cream, that doesn't mean that flavor of ice cream is wrong to exist. Different strokes for different folks. The universe delights in the diversity of desire, and that it can experience all of it. It can experience the person who loves Rocky Road, goes nuts for it, and experience the person who doesn't care for it that much, but loves mint chocolate chip. Good feeling is how our soul guides. Ego responds, reacts with the sour sensation, with the unpleasant sensation. And that is just the information telling you it's not your soul saying that. It is not source, it is not spirit, it is not divine saying that. It's just ego. It's just confused, it's misinformed. And the very unpleasantness of that sensation demonstrates its opposition to the truth, the true perspective. When ego goes, I don't feel worthy of pleasure, and you feel the sensation of that, source is screaming, you are worthy of pleasure. We are worthy of pleasure. We are pleased right now. Incredibly pleased, thrilled, aroused. Yes. Again, the creative act, the creative energy. And next time you take part in some creative act, intentionally, whether it's making a sandwich or making a piece of art, notice the feelings, notice the flow of energy within you. Where do you feel it in your body? How does it feel? It's in the sacral chakra. It manifests first and foremost within the pelvic region, and it pools there and pulls and trickles and moves around up and down. It's connected intimately to the heart. The sacral chakra and the heart communicate. And in fact, the more you are expanding the one, the more the other expands. They are intimately connected. I think that's it. Just my desire, and I can express that in this moment, it feels like desire. It feels good. It's a powerfully positive sensation, energetically, physically, to express this, to express that all of us, ego included, are worthy of desiring and experiencing pleasure in every imaginable form. That's what we're here to do. And to do it consciously, to do it deliberately. Sweet little ego. We're working through this unworthiness. It's here. It's collective. It is in the energy, particularly right now with Venus in retrograde and with all that's happening. But so it is. This is enough. I have satisfied my desire in expressing this. I'm going to go do more things that feel good, because all of it is intended to. And even the things that don't feel good only add to those that do, only add to the experience, clarify it, help us appreciate it more, help us understand it more, expand our capacity for it. So it's all for fun. And when we're here in every part of the journey on purpose, we get to have fun the whole time. Have a fabulous day.